Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Matt and Steve bringing you another game for the BackHo OSL round of 16. Last time we were so enthralled with this beautiful water floating whatever that we forgot to even mention who we are. But anyways, of course this is the BackHo OSL. And this is going to be Group B. It's actually the second game that they played from Group B. All the game ones were played on day one, I guess about a week ago, and now we're in the week 2. So if you haven't seen the week 1 games, go back and watch those first, because we are going to spoil them. These are different players,
right?
But they're all players from the same group. So we're going to have now Group B. We just watched Group A, which was Flash and who was he just playing against?
God, you're such an idiot. It was Flash versus Yellow Arnick, and Yellow beat Flash, which was quite shocking. I should mention, if you guys are wondering about who's playing who, if you just do a Google search for just 2009 OSL rounds, then you'll see the nice link on Team Liquid. Anyways, we have Fantasy versus BackHo. Right here, the best Protoss versus Terran player in the world is Fantasy. He stomped on Bisu 3-0 in the Batu OSL. The last OSL, of course, he went on to then lose against Jadong and was quite bitter about it, unfortunately. Isn't Fantasy one of your more favorite players?
Fantasy is a beast. He
is pretty good.
Some people, I don't know, some people have doubts about him, especially as TVZ, because he does have a weird style. TVZ, likes to build a lot of dropships and do weird things like that, and do tech switches from mech back and forth to medic marine. And sometimes it's very effective, sometimes it's very risky. But this is TVP. This is Fantasy's best matchup. He is 64% overall Terran versus Protoss. BackHo's best matchup is actually against Terran 2. And he's about 54%.
The ladies love BackHo.
The fangirls like BackHo. I don't know why with his weirdo hair. BackHo is actually a pretty good player, in my opinion. I want to actually mention this because a lot of people give BackHo a lot of crap. Obviously, he has a funny name. He's known for doing weird things with his holots and different things like that.
With Jadong.
And so he's kind of infamous. Oh, yes. Won't mention those things. But yes, some pictures and weird things have been circulating around.
Dude, look at his artwork.
The internet's vultures. That is what Fantasy is probably going to use.
Where's the dropship? They should have put a dropship over the vulture. Anyways, yeah.
But anyways, like you said, Fantasy, not only did he make it to as a finalist in the last OSL, the last 2 OSLs, he's gotten silver. So he was in the Incrude OSL against Stork. If you remember, that was Stork barely ended his silver mining era and finally won his first gold against Fantasy.
That's right.
And now, then the most recent OSL, he made it all the way up to the finals again and lost to Jadong. So unfortunately, Fantasy, that's got to hurt your confidence a little bit to make it that far and just not win a gold.
Yeah.
But he's certainly in the running again, I think, to maybe get a gold in this OSL. And especially with Flash just losing that last game, that's not looking so good for Flash. Flash, the winner of the last BackHo OSL, now we're in the BackHo OSL, again here, the 2009 BackHo OSL.
Right. He
was the winner of the last one, and he might not be able to make it out of that group, now being already 0-1 because of Yellow. So Fantasy, he still has a hard road ahead. But, because he was already seeded this far, I think he's got a good chance, especially with the round he has. Not that tough of a round for him. Obviously, we've seen some crazy stuff from Type B.
Yeah.
But, and just so I can get back to the game, it looks like we're seeing pretty much everything standard on screen here. Protoss just getting Gateway, followed by a Simulator and a Core. So, nothing out of the usual yet. And it'll be interesting to see how many SCVs Fantasy puts on gas. It looks like Scouts going out for both players that are going to meet here. It looks like, oh, maybe not. Nope, Probe does not see that SCV, so the SCV is just going to scoot by. And, oh, this Probe's actually going up to do some proxy, probably. It looks like, yep, there's a pylon for BackHo.
We might see a proxy Templar Archives or something like that up there. That's not been uncommon recently to see something like that. Try to keep Terran out of the loop. To be honest, Fantasy can kind of play a more standard game. This map is only 40% Protoss, and Fantasy is a very good player, great wall-off, keeping the scout out, which of course that sucks for BackHo. That's what he was hoping for, but BackHo is going to try for, a little proxy tech. I'm assuming it's proxy tech. We have the gateway in there. We have the core down as well. If he's not going to be crazy and build a gateway out in the middle of the map.
And you can see Fantasy is scouting around trying to find that other pylon. He's going to know something's up. At StarCraft at this level, when a pylon's missing.
Yeah.
You know that a typical Protoss has to get a pylon on 15 you know, he's got to get that second pylon or he's going to be side blocked. So obviously there's a pylon somewhere. Fantasy going up and checking that. I don't think it's long before he's going to see this. Honestly, I don't know if I like BackHo's positioning of this because, look, he's going to go right up and he's going to scout it right here probably in the next 2 seconds. Yep. There's a pylon, and now he's not going to be able to put tech. Actually, he probably won't put tech there anymore.
I mean,
but he does need that pylon. He can't just...
He has the Dragoon out. He's going to obviously go for a harass at the front door, which is what Protoss does versus Terran. And then Terran gets out a tank, and then Terran usually is able to fight it back. I have no doubt Fantasy will have no problem. Actually, it looks like he's not going to go for harass. He's going to chase this SCV to the ends of the earth as the SCV roams around the map.
BackHo style. That's
BackHo style. Yeah, that's great.
Well, we do see Fantasy already building his command center, so pretty quick expand. I would imagine he's probably going to get siege tanks out. Of course, one other option would be to do that kind of fake double, but I don't think it's going to happen. He might get mines first for vultures, but yeah. I didn't know. So was there a siege? Oh yeah, there is already the add-on there. So yeah, probably going to see. Well, nothing researching at the add-on right now, so maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. He spent the money on the expansion, which I believe you normally buy after you get the tank. So that's something...
There's the first tank.
There it is out there. Okay. So, unless I'm wrong, somebody wants to correct me on that. I believe usually you start building the expansion after you at least get the tank out to protect from harass. But you know why he might have done that? Because he saw the Dragoon going down and chasing his SCV, which it looks like the SCV, if you look on the mini-map, made a giant loop around the entire middle of the map before dying. If it did even die, I'm assuming it did at some point there. Anyways, enough talking about the SCV.
There's siege mode finally coming up,
right,
and also Starport going down.
I'm assuming a dropship.
Well, maybe it's also probably just to stop Reaver harass. If you get a quick Wraith out, you can, you know, really stop cold any shuttle that comes out. And judging by the robotic support bay, that is going to be BackHo's plan, is probably to get a Reaver and try to sneak in there. And this is basically one of a couple different counters. You know, usually Terrans will get an engineering bay and just build turrets up to counter this, but another way is, well, the flash way, which would be to just get an armory and get a Goliath and get an academy to scan, so you have the scan in case there's DTs, like he has here, and you have the armory to build Goliaths. In this case, Fantasy's chosen to use a Wraith instead. So you can see BackHo's just waiting for his...
Did you see the Wraith?
Reaver. Well, I didn't see a Wraith producing, but I'm assuming that that's what he's producing. Looks like BackHo's moving up with a couple Dragoons. Siege mode's going to be up very, very shortly. There it is. There's siege mode. So not like BackHo's going to be able to do much and get in here. And he's really got to move out that shuttle. I guess he's just sitting there waiting for... There's his Zeratory going up. I guess he's just waiting for a Reaver. What's taking the Reaver to get out? What's taking it so long? I don't know.
I'm not really sure.
But there's the first Wraith being produced. So like I said, this is going to be shut down pretty cold, I think. And he's even building a supply depot up there just so he can spot for incoming Wraiths. And right now, BackHo is not even expanded at all. So... Gosh, unless he does something now with his shutter, a lot of damage, he's going to be very, very far behind against Fantasy.
Yeah, Fantasy is playing really standard StarCraft. He is playing very solidly. He is doing everything right. The timing for everything is perfect on this. Obviously, Siege mode is up. And here this comes. This is going to be done. In fact, that shuttle is going to go down. If BackHo can't pick it off, okay, he does run it back in the Dragoons. Wait, that wasn't even... Oh, okay, there's one Reaver. Now, the shuttle's gone. So this is possibly not going to fail. I don't know. This is really, really close here. We have another tank up there on the top. If that tank can siege down and try to range this, BackHo's getting way farther. BackHo's going to target down the tank. Tank is about to go down, but there's another tank in the back there, so this is going to fail.
Yep, and I gotta say that's gonna be the game. Surprising how close that BackHo came there, actually. He has put up his expansion while he was doing that. Fantasy, because he did lose most of his tanks, doesn't really have the ability to counter push, which is what you'd probably want to do right now. But unfortunately, he did lose a lot of tanks there. BackHo did a good job, actually, of not losing his shuttle and using it in the fight instead of harassing SCVs, as maybe he might have planned. His backup plan was, I'm just going to go in. And it actually worked pretty good. You know, he took out most of those tanks. Well, right.
Late in the game.
Well, BackHo's very far behind because his expansion is so behind. But he actually came out pretty good in that attack compared to how horrible he could have done if he had lost that shuttle. If he would have lost that shuttle with the Reaver inside, that would have been an instant game. And now he's double expanding because he knows he's behind. So you can see that additional expansion going up for BackHo. So I do think that the longer this goes on, the more likely BackHo has to catch up with Fantasy. You know,
right? They're showing there's only one tank right now defending, which perfectly go. I was just about to say that. I'm expecting we're going to see a control tower. I'm thinking at this point we're going to see dropship. There we go. So he's going to take his back natural expansion there. You can see it's a mineral only expansion, delayed slightly because you have to mineral out the mine patch, but this is very good. This means that he is going to be even in bases. Obviously, he's not going to have gas at both of them. But the great thing about getting the back is if Fantasy wants, he can then expand again to his third natural or second front natural that will be a gas expansion, and he can go 4 versus, yep, they're showing right there.
Well, you mentioned this map is a little unfavored towards Protoss. I think you said it was about 40%.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like PVT stats, it's 10 and 15 for
Right.
Protoss. So, and you're seeing why right here, because there's so many bases that you can just hold without even hardly getting out of your little area. And with siege tanks, you're able to hold 4 bases, 3 gas and 1 mineral only without hardly moving out anywhere. And so,
Right.
in a PvZ that would favor Protoss, and a TVP though